2015 was a pretty big year for Activision with Call of Duty. Sales over the past couple of years had been declining, fans were split down the middle as to which type of gameplay worked best with Call of Duty, and Call of Duty was really starting to lose its identity as one of the go-to games each year. But fortunately enough for Activision, Treyarch was at the helms of the next Call of Duty game and announced that they would be releasing the fourth game in the Black Ops saga, Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Yes, it's the fourth game in the series. Call of Duty World at War is a part of the same story, but with the stakes higher than ever, would they be able to live up to the expectations that were set with Call of Duty Black Ops 2 and possibly the Call of Duty brand from one of the biggest collapses in video game history? But more importantly, how does Call of Duty Black Ops 3 hold up now in 2019? Let's get into it. Treyarch had some pretty huge shoes to fit into during this pivotal moment with the Call of Duty brand. Their last game, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, is one of the best-selling games in Call of Duty history, and Call of Duty Advanced Warfare more or less was praised for completely overhauling the game's mechanics and movement systems. And while some more hardcore fans hated Advanced Warfare's movements, Treyarch was kind of put in a place where they needed to innovate while also staying true to what they knew. And on November 6, 2015, Call of Duty Black Ops 3 released, and definitely did a lot of things right, but also missed the mark on several other things. The multiplayer in the game definitely took a lot from both Call of Duty Black Ops 2 and the previous Call of Duty game made by Sledgehammer Games, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. This game tried to bridge the gap of not having as much of advanced movement as Advanced Warfare did, putting in some much needed limitations, while also trying to have the same spirit that Call of Duty Black Ops 2 had. Important features like the Pick 10 system was still included from Black Ops 2. With that, this game also added characters that you must choose before each game, called specialists, that each had their own ability that was on a time-based function. The gameplay was still pretty fast for a Call of Duty game, but definitely had toned down quite a bit of the speed compared to Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. The maps included in the game returned back to the more well-known and well-received 3-lane style. However, these maps also introduced a new 2-level system that added a bunch of verticality to the maps to correlate with the new refined movement system. And for the most part, this multiplayer style actually kind of worked. It still was a pretty large jump away from the classic Call of Duty games like Black Ops, Black Ops 2, or even Infinity Ward's Modern Warfare series. Fans probably would have favored going back to the boots on the ground type gameplay, but this was at least going in the right direction and made the gameplay more of a tactical shooter and less of a who can fly across the map faster and dodge bullets better. With the overall return to the 3-lane system, it was extremely refreshing to have gameplay that finally felt fluid again, especially since Call of Duty Ghosts really messed up on a lot of the maps, and that ultimately was its downfall, where Advanced Warfare had such a high vertical movement that it was hard to control players and control where players would go, making the game extremely chaotic. Treyarch actually did a really good job at finding a middle ground that still let the game be somewhat predictable, so you never felt like your deaths were BS, and you felt like you could predict some things and focus more on your gameplay and your strategy more so than just it being a whole hot mess. The specialist system was kind of cool. It really felt more like an extra perk system or a kill streak system, and some of the characters were extremely overpowered, but it was kind of rewarding and a fun feeling midway through your game to get some extra little ability. For the most part, the multiplayer wasn't actually bad, or for the most part, the community didn't see Call of Duty Black Ops 3 as a bad Call of Duty, especially following the releases of Call of Duty Ghosts and Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, which if you haven't checked it out already, check out our reviews on those games. We didn't think those games were bad by any means, but they definitely were more polarizing to the community and split the community a lot more. Black Ops 3 seemed to kind of reknit a lot of the Call of Duty community together. Of course, a lot of the fans of the original type of gameplay really did fall off in the early months of this game's release, but this game was able to sustain a pretty large audience and also pave the way for a new player base of Call of Duty fans to be introduced to this series. The maps looked good, and there wasn't one or two extremely awful maps in this game, and the fact that you could fully customize your guns and emblems again was a really nice feature to see once again. The campaign, on the other hand, honestly, the story to this Call of Duty game is literally the most convoluted and over-the-top story that is just so unnecessary. It almost feels like Activision told Treyarch to go even more into the future, and way further into the future than any connections to any of the previous Call of Duty games, that they just had to make stuff up to make the technology seem futuristic enough to sell with the campaign. They really tried to go into this deeper commentary on technology in the future and how technology will be able to preserve your consciousness even after you die, so you can still fight people in the afterlife with your guns. And it was so forced and rushed. There were several times in this campaign where the game completely jumps the shark. And when you're playing the game, you'll be like, oh, it jumped the shark. And then you'll be like, oh, it jumped the shark again. It just feels like they really didn't get the pacing down, and they were constantly introducing things just for the sake of utilizing them later on. Some of the technology could have been really interesting and really fascinating, especially what it did with the consciousness, but where something like San Junipero does it so well and makes a really interesting story out of it, Black Ops 3 feels like it's just shoving their weird ideas in your face. And I mean, some of the set pieces in the campaign are really nice to look at and kind of cool. If you're not paying the utmost attention to the single player narrative, you will get so lost so quickly and likely, like many players, lose interest. What was interesting is they made this campaign for the first time since Call of Duty World at War have co-op, but even then the actual level design wasn't really fun enough where co-op was fun to play. It never really felt like a challenge. It felt more like a rush to get through the game and kind of race to get kills more so than tactically playing through it. If you're a fan of any of the previous Black Ops games or even World at War, you'll be really disappointed with Black Ops 3 because this game literally has nothing to do with Black Ops 2, Black Ops 1, or World at War. I mean, there's a couple of little references, but this story is completely self-contained and has nothing to do with anything else. Minor spoiler alert from Black Ops 4, but Black Ops 4, not even having a campaign, has more connections to Call of Duty Black Ops and Black Ops 2 than Black Ops 3 itself did. Like, at least there's cutscenes with the ancestors of the main characters from Black Ops, which is kind of cool in Black Ops 4. Nothing like that, or no callbacks like that in Black Ops 3. But honestly, this could be the very reason that campaign was completely scrapped out of Call of Duty Black Ops 4. People didn't like it, and there really wasn't a good way to integrate it all together. I'm all for Call of Duty campaigns, I just want them to be good, and usually a Call of Duty campaign is pretty decent. This one really stands out as an example of a really bad Call of Duty campaign. However, despite the campaign being like this, they did go ahead and add a Nightmares mode to the game, which took the level layout from the original campaign and kind of did an alternate storyline involving zombies. It was all reused assets, but with zombies, and it was kind of cool. So even though there was a bad campaign, there was something that was a little bit different, and a lot of people had asked for a zombies only campaign type thing for a long time, and it worked okay here. It wasn't like the most fun thing ever, but it was a nice little addition. Another mode that is often also overlooked was the free run mode in this game, which was super disappointing just because the game mode itself was actually really fun. It kind of just gave players a playground to do some parkour and some challenges, and was its own unique little game type, and I was really hopeful that they would release more DLC or some more free maps because there's only just a couple of them, and for a whole game mode just to have a few, it was a little bit odd. But had this played a bigger role in the game and had more levels for it, it could have been a really nice feature. But despite all of this, Treyarch still came through in providing a quality product with Call of Duty Black Ops 3 as a whole, because zombies is really good in this game. Besides the awesome return of Dead Ops Arcade, this game had some of the best zombie maps through DLC across all of the Call of Duty franchise games ever. Sure, Shadows of Evil, the default map in this game, isn't really anything extraordinarily fun, and it's kind of difficult, but if you shell out a little bit of cash, there is such a solid zombies experience behind the DLC. And typically in these reviews, we don't look too far into the DLC, but we have to give Treyarch credit for all of the support they've given Black Ops 3 over the years. Right away, as a pre-order bonus or as a low price DLC, you could get a remake of Call of Duty World at War's Der Riese, which was one of the most popular zombie maps of all time. But even in this remake, they overhauled a lot of things, making players a lot more buffed than in previous games. All the original World at War guns had been replaced, some of the improvements from the Black Ops version of this map stayed intact, but a ton of new features were also introduced, like new futuristic guns, being able to pack a punch your gun multiple times, having access to the gobble gum, which was a new introduction to zombies as a whole, and honestly, in a game type where surviving 20 rounds was the norm, Black Ops 3 did a good job at kind of scaling it where most players could at least make it to round 30. And while I kind of use this one map as an example, as a whole, Black Ops 3 did an amazing job at just how they controlled the old maps that were reintroduced and the new maps that came out. Some of the set pieces in the DLC zombie maps were absolutely beautiful. And with all of the DLC collections, with the classic and best zombie maps being included, this game really holds up today in 2019 just because of how much content they loaded into this game. Surprisingly enough, there is a tight-knit community on Black Ops 3 that still plays this game on both Xbox One and PS4, and surprisingly, even the PC isn't completely dead yet. The Zombies Chronicles DLC adds so much gameplay in 2019 that even if you're just a Zombies fan and you don't really care about multiplayer or campaign, it's still worth picking up this game just because there's so many amazing maps from over the years that you have access to. And because of Treyarch's support on this game as a whole, we definitely recommend picking this game up, probably on the PlayStation 4 version first, just because the community is a lot more active on there than anywhere else, even though the Xbox One does have an active-ish community. There's definitely a ton of different DLC options out there and season pass things that you could consider buying that are included, and since this game is still active, we definitely don't want to steer you away from considering buying those as well, especially if they go on sale or something. It was really cool to see how Treyarch continued to support this game over the years, especially because they continued to release more content for this game even after the typical life cycle of this game concluded. In 2017, when Infinite Warfare was the big Call of Duty, they released the Zombie Chronicle DLC, which was really cool, and just last year they released on PS4 exclusive a couple of remakes from previous Black Ops games that were going to be in Black Ops 4 as a pre-order bonus for people on the PS4. It was kind of cool that this game was continued to be supported, even though that last one was kind of more of a marketing ploy on Sony's part, and it makes sense that they kept pushing new content out because Infinite Warfare did so bad, and then there was World War II that also didn't do the best. But either way, we do have to give credit where credit's due that this game did at least continue to see some support for a long amount of time. If you pick up this game on the PC, while it doesn't necessarily have the remake maps available in multiplayer, the modding community really took advantage with this game and had a lot of fun with making some really awesome things that you could play. You want to play zombies on Rust? Go ahead and play it. It's pretty cool. There were a few multiplayer servers here and there, but these modded servers aren't really too active nowadays and more people play on the main servers. However, you can still go and look through the catalog of mods for this game and zombie map mods and check them out. There's some really funny ones out there like Minecraft. And then there was the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 versions of this game, and we won't talk about these versions for too long because it was kind of interesting that Activision even decided to do this for 2015, and these were the last Call of Duty games to come out on the last generation consoles. The game went ahead and cut the campaign out and mostly just stayed to the bare bone multiplayer experience. The core multiplayer experience is more or less the same. The graphics are a little bit watered down, but it's not terrible to look at, especially by Xbox 360 or PS3 standards. And more or less, besides just a lot of cut corners, the gameplay is still decent. And it's really active actually, especially because in other countries, people don't have as much access to the Xbox One or PS4, so there's still a decent amount of players playing on the Xbox 360. It's actually one of the most populated 360 games to date. But that's about it for Call of Duty Black Ops 3. It's actually still one of the main Call of Duty games that you should pick up in 2019 if you're looking to kind of retroactively play some of the better Call of Duty games. Sure, this game definitely falls outside of the glory days of Call of Duty, but it's still a decent pickup if you're looking for something to play and you kind of want to feel that somewhat advanced movement that's not fully advanced warfare. This game easily gets a B+ from us. If you like this video though, be sure to let us know what you thought of it in the comments down below. Do you have any good Black Ops 3 stories? Share them with us. Be sure to subscribe to Rocket Sloth for more coverage on games like Call of Duty or other Xbox type stuff, and we'll see you all next time with a brand new video.